Round 2. What a round it was. And might I say, it was much easier for all the footy tippers. Hey guys, what's up? It's Busy2125 here and welcome back to my weekly AFL round review. This week we're reviewing round 2. Like I said at the start, round 2 was much easier to tip and I racked up 6. Fair effort. I got most of the ones people would write. But I tipped Sydney at home. Very quickly I remembered what happened last year with Sydney at home. But oh well, we win some, we lose one. However, let's kick off with the round review, shall we? Started off Thursday night, Collingwood and Richmond, and I got this one right. I tipped the Pies. I tipped them by 2 goals, and most of the match it looked like that was going to be the case. Whereas towards the end, Richmond just stopped and Collingwood just ran away with it. Collingwood just beat them in every stat, inside 50s, disposals, especially marks. Collingwood racking up 174 marks, just 7 off of the all-time AFL record of 181. So could this potentially be a record we see broken later on in the season? Don't know. But as for the Pies, they played a very good brand of football, grand final form, if you ask me, and they made toys out of Richmond. Richmond were missing Granty in the back line. Grimesy was supposed to be the replacement. Not going to help that Grimes got a week for that hit on Elliott. And Rewalt going down doesn't look good at Richmond. Richmond have to travel up to Sydney this week to take on GWS. I've tipped the Giants. Most people have their favourites heading into the match. The Richmond ship has just scraped the iceberg. It hasn't hit it that it's sinking. It's just scraped it. And if you look at Richmond's fixture, they're in trouble. They got back-to-back interstate games. They got GWS this week, and they got Port Adelaide in Adelaide. Then they come back to play at Marvel, not the G, against the Swans in 3 weeks' time. So very interesting what's coming up for the Tigers, but we'll see. We'll have to see what happens. The next game was the Friday night game, Sydney versus Adelaide at the SCG. Now, I didn't really get to watch this one. I was working that night at work, and from what I did see, Adelaide just really handled them down, stopped everything Sydney are known for. But Sydney at home, they really got to start working on that. It was horrible form at home all last year, and they won a lot of their interstate games, a lot of games that they really shouldn't have last year. 26-point win, can't really take much away from the Crows. They bounced back after their efforts against Hawthorn last week when they let a lot of people down, especially all their members and all their fans. But the Crows have a big week coming up this week. I'm filming this on the Wednesday, the night before Adelaide versus Geelong at the Adelaide Oval. So Adelaide have a big game coming up against the Cats. Geelong, it's going to be good. It's going to be a good game. Game number 3 for the round with the Mighty Saints taking on the Dons. Now, I'm never biased, and I will say we played a very scrappy game of footy. However, we started off strong. Our attack was strong. Our first half was really solid. We had 9 scoring shots in the first quarter, only managing 2 goals. Just fortunate enough for us that Bombers only scored 2 behinds, which from memory were the 2 behinds at the start of the game. They were the first 2 scores. However, our pressure in the back line was phenomenal. The way we bring the ball from the back 50 to the forward 50, defence to offence, is phenomenal. I'm willing to argue one of the best in the league. Jack Steele, phenomenal form. Josh Bruce, that hanger, mark of the year contender, hands down. But we played really good. We got to travel west over to Perth to play Fremantle this week, and it'll be a really interesting game. You know, the Saints have something to prove, and prove that being 2-0 isn't a fluke, beating Gold Coast and Essendon. However, Dockers really need to bounce back after their efforts against Gold Coast this week. So we're up for a really interesting week of footy. The biggest question out of round 2 was what is going on at Essendon? Just clueless plays. There was the one where I think it was Aaron Francis kicked the ball and hit Michael Hurley in the back. What was that? That's just poor chemistry, and that's just not looking where you're kicking the ball. However, there was that one. I think it was Langford and somebody else. I don't really know my Bombers players. Just ran away from the ball. Just ran away like it was nothing. Just ran out there on the bench that Loney could pick it up, bring it forward. I think we got a behind out of that play. I don't really remember, but Loney's efforts, Loney was good. Loney racks up at least 1 or 2 votes in my opinion. But the Bombers, Dylan Shield was the pickup of the summer, and if he is yelling at teammates as they come off, they're a joke, they don't belong at the club and stuff like that, that's not good. You know, he left GWS, this brotherhood, to go and win a premiership with the Dons, and including JLT, they're 0-4, and their efforts have been very average. You know, Worsfold, in my opinion, has overtaken Alan Richardson as the coach under the most pressure. So the Bombers have a lot to bounce back from. They're playing the D's this Friday night. It's going to be a very interesting game. Both sides 0-2. One of them will pick up their first win. If the Bombers could get a win this week, we could really see a turnaround. We don't know. But if the Bombers lose, some major red flags are going to be seen. The next game was Port Adelaide versus Carlton at the Adelaide Oval. Carlton's efforts were amazing. They had a rocking first quarter. They were up by a goal at quarter time, and then their second quarter let them down. They only had 2 points. Third quarter came back strong, and I think the margin was 8 points at 3/4 time. It's just from memory. I watched highlights and stuff because as this game was happening, the Saints were playing, so I was watching the Saints with my family. And Carlton played a really solid game of football, especially they're entering somebody else's territory. You know, they've gone into somebody else's house to play by their rules, but they really turned it around. Cripps was phenomenal. A lot of the Port Adelaide rookies still looking strong. Port Adelaide at the moment have done the best in the draft. Dersma, Drew, Butters, and Rosie have been phenomenal so far. Port Adelaide, lots of positives to take out of it. 2-0 going to Brisbane this week to take on the 2-0 Lions. One of them will get their first loss. That'll be very interesting. Carlton have Sydney this week at Marvel Stadium. It'll be Carlton's first game at Marvel because they played at the G and then they played at the Adelaide Oval. So it'll be interesting whether or not the Blues can get their first win. Not too sure if I'm going to tip the Blues or not, but as for the power, I think the Lions are just too good. I think the Lions will come over the top of the power this week. And then we were brought to Saturday night footy. What a night this was going to be. Geelong, Melbourne at the Cattery. They were going to play again, and last time they did, it came down to a goal on the siren. And before that, it came down to a goal that was missed by Gorney, which ruined my tipping round 1 last year. However, after the finals efforts with Melbourne and Geelong, Melbourne just ran over them. A lot of people kind of predicted a Melbourne turnaround this week. I did tip the Cats, and what happened with the D's? If you're a top 4 contender side, losing to a side that a lot of people had missing the 8 this year by 80 points, it's just not good enough, right? D's have Bombers this week at Friday night footy, as I touched on earlier. Melbourne need to bounce back. Petrarca, talking point of the D so far, he hasn't quite carried over his form from last year, and some people arguing whether or not he needs a week in the VFL. I don't agree with it. I believe he's just had a few bad weeks. I think the D's really need to step it up, or else there's going to be mayhem. So it's pretty much Essendon and Melbourne, in my opinion, that are under the most pressure heading into this week, which a lot of people would predict or agree with me with that one. Another big talking point from that game is Geelong back to their old premiership form. The 2007, 2009, 2011 premierships. What's the go? Are they back to it? I still don't sleep at night from the 2009 premiership. No, I'm joking. I don't really. And and so Geelong have to go to Adelaide this week, as I touched on earlier. I think Geelong can carry their form over. Fitness won't be an issue. Gary Ablett's going to play. They're bringing in Lockie Henderson to play this week, and it's going to be really interesting whether or not Geelong can carry this form to interstate. You know, they've only had to play the G in Kardinia Park, whereas it's going to be very interesting. They played a phenomenal game, and I think the talking point of the game was Tomahawk's little dish to Jordan Clark. Perfect. Couldn't agree with it more. Give the youngster his first goal in footy, and he'll always remember that. He will always remember that. So, my opinion, Cats will go 3-0 this week. Then over West Coast had their premiership flag night. That Eagle did a backflip off the roof of the stadium. How cool was that? That was an insane way to bring your flag to all your members back home. They had the cup out, everyone was celebrating. It was a night to be an Eagles fan, wasn't it? I was still wrapped up in the Saints win 2-0. I'm not going to stop saying that. Jack Petruccelli was the talking point of the game. That goal was phenomenal. Eagles still missing a few of their key players like Willie Rioli, and they could still win by 100 points to a side that just won by 70 points in round one. Of course, they had to travel. However, West Coast have the have the grand final rematch this week. That'll be very, very interesting because the Eagles with Optus Stadium can now play really good at the MCG. Cornelio was not very good for this week, and as you remember, if you go back to my predictions video, Cornelio was my Brownlow pick. I had a look at the odds on him. He was 41 at the start of the season, and now he's reduced just to 17. So I could have potentially picked a dark horse to win the Brownlow, who could potentially, but hey, it's round two, who knows. Josh Kelly makes his return to the side this week up against the Tigers. The Tigers versus the Giants will be a very, very interesting game, but the Giants have a lot to improve after their efforts against West Coast, but in my opinion, no problem, bounce back easy. So the Giants will beat the Tigers. Eagles will have a very, very close affair with the Magpies, but I see Collingwood seeking some revenge and just taking down the Eagles in this one. Then we move on to Sunday's games. North Melbourne go 0-2 while the Lions go 2-0. Wow. I personally tipped the Lions. I saw this coming. The Lions, however, perfect form. It was actually a close game and they were losing the majority of it. That fourth quarter was, they came out firing, they came out hot. And I only really got to watch the fourth quarter again because it was on Fox Footy just as I was bored. I was at work when this game happened, so really just checking scores. I watched a little bit on my break. However, North Melbourne have got some talking points this week, and North have Hawthorn, who just lost a game that they really, really should have won. The North have a lot of negatives to take out of their game against the Lions. Lions have a lot of positives. Lions should be able to make this 3-0. I can see the Kangas going 0-3, but I won't be surprised if the Kangas come up and beat the Hawks. Probably the biggest talking points of the round were the last two games, Hawthorn Bulldogs and the Gold Coast and Fremantle games. Now, were Hawthorn robbed? I believe, yes, they were. Those umpiring calls were shocking, downright unacceptable to the game. There's been lots of talks in terms of the jumper punches and stuff over the off-season and the rules changing for that. Impey's punches, fair. That was a fair free kick to pay. Jager's punches shouldn't have happened. Those should not have been paid because they were simple hits to the chest. They were not punches. It was an open fist. And Sicily, I think the thing that people are overlooking in this was, yes, Sicily was being a smartass, pushing, shoving and all that, but Sicily is a hothead. Sicily fights with everyone. Sicily gives attitude, and he could very, very easily get on somebody's bad side. And let's just say at the start of the game or the third quarter, he said something wrong, which really pissed off one of the umpires. One of the umpires could be like, I'm really going to watch him, right? I'm really going to watch this kid, and I'm going to make sure he's behaving, because it's all he does. All he does is be a smartass and gets himself into trouble with games. I remember watching majority Hawthorn games last year because my girlfriend goes for Hawthorn, and it was always Sicily getting into all the fights. And I don't agree with his attitude towards football. I don't agree with the free kick being paid against him right in front of goal. I don't agree with James Worpel running into position after being told to run into position and getting a free kick paid against him. He was doing what was told of him. He was moving to the correct position. But it was because he came through the middle that the free kick was called. But that's not right. Because of his positioning, he was going to do that. He wasn't going to cut all the way around and waste more time towards the game. But Hawthorn has some talking points. Hawthorn have a lot to improve. Gunston was really good after being very average in round one. Hawthorn have North Melbourne this week. They should take it. But if Hawthorn play anything like that last 15 minutes, Roos should be able to get their first win this week. The last game was Gold Coast versus Fremantle. Now, from the way Gold Coast played against us when I was down at the game, I'm not surprised Gold Coast won this game. I was in doubt because I had tipped the Dockers. But boy, the final score was 61-58. Now, what that game proved was Gold Coast can kick points for about 3 quarters and still win games. Because Gold Coast were once 4 goals and 4 points in that game and finished with 7 goals and 19 points. They were atrocious kicking for goal. Alex Sexton is leading the Coleman with 8 goals. He kicked 4 against St Kilda and 4 against the Dockers. I don't think anybody would predict a Gold Coast player to have any impact on an award. What? Dockers were atrocious. Sam Collins, that mark at the end against his old side. Great mark. You got to give it to him on that one, especially when he had his injury against the Saints. And a lot of people had him in doubt. I know I'm a Supercoach player. I know a lot of people traded him that week, got rid of him. Played average. He got that final mark though, which got them the win. And there was many free kicks that weren't paid. Like there was one, I can't remember the player. The Gold Coast player ran through the protected zone, wasn't paid because Fremantle would have had a free kick just inside the 50, a shot at goal, which any other game that would have been paid. Can't really help that. But Fremantle have the Saints this week. It's a 7-day break. They're coming back from travelling. Very interested to see how they go. But as for the Saints, if we could continue our form, I can see us going 3-0. But maybe that's just me being a St Kilda fan. Let me know down below in the comments. So that's all for my round 2 review. I'm very sorry that this video came late. These shouldn't come late from now on. I've just been very busy. I was on school camp Monday, Tuesday, and I worked Tuesday night when I came back. As this being the Wednesday, I'm recording this, and this will be up Wednesday night, as in tonight. And if you guys have any opinions you want to express, you guys agree with something I said, don't agree with something I said, let me know down below. I love reading comments. I got a few on my last round review, and I love reading them. Alright? I love hearing your guys' thoughts. I love hearing the teams you follow. I love hearing your predictions, just like how I express my predictions with you guys. Now, my round 3 review will be up sometime next week. That will be my next video. Then after that, I'm travelling down to St Kilda versus Hawthorn as our next home game. I have level 2 tickets to that one, go to see with my girlfriend. There will be a vlog for that video, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed and you want more AFL content just like this one. Hit subscribe if you enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.